So right now what I'm doing is I am working on the piston rings, specifically the top one. So we basically measured the lower piston ring, which came out to about 27 thousandths of an inch, and we're using this tool to measure. So what I'm doing is this top ring we've calculated we need to get to about 24 thousandths. It needs to be a smaller gap than the bottom ring. So what I'm doing is I'm test setting, and then I'm filing off little by little until we get that perfect gap that we want. So I just measured it, and I know that we need a little bit more gap. So I'm gonna put it right here, and I'm gonna start filing down just a little bit, not too aggressive, just what I kind of think is gonna be okay. Because if we overshoot it, then we're gonna have a problem. So we're gonna seat it like that, and then what we do is we use a piston to place it in. And now you can see there's a tiny little gap there, and that's the gap we're going to measure. So you can see it goes in and then it stops just at the very base. Honestly, this could be perfect. Maybe Drew can take a look for us.
What steel you got out?
So he's close, you said it was at 23?
Yeah, about 23 and a half. It starts to just barely tip in there, but not quite all the way to the base, and that's when you're getting very, very close to your target.
And I'm going to get back on it, working on the arc center.
You have to lubricate the piston. You know, some engine builders will use something thin like WD-40, or they'll have their own mixture. I kind of experimented with a little bit of everything through the years, and I just like the overall ATF the best. Plus it's got some detergents in there too, so it helps to keep things clean and assist in the bedding process. So you want to lubricate the rings so they get nice and oily. You want to get oil in the oil ring itself. And for sure you want to make sure that you get a little bit on the skirts so it slides in nice and easy. And then the last thing you do is orientate your compression rings. On the Subarus, the oil rings have a fixed position, so you can see there's a little notch on this ring, and then if you follow the piston around, there's another notch for the upper ring of the oil control, and that's just so they can't turn into the oil that they're laying in and then create a consumption problem.
basically now on track to start rebuilding the engine. We already have the new pistons in, so now the rebuild process is beginning. We have done the work that we've needed to do. We've stripped the block as much as we have to go. We're gonna go ahead and put on the heads. We're gonna latch those down, and we're gonna be putting on the intake manifold, and we're gonna leave the heads exposed with the cams exposed, because what we're going to do is we're going to actually lift the buckets out of the heads, and we're going to be dropping in new springs and retainers, and it's going to reduce the possibility of valve float, and we might be able to increase the RPMs just a little bit. Okay, so right now what I'm doing is I have the manifold. I'm actually on Instagram right now doing a live session while I take this apart. So what I have to do is we have to take apart, as you can see, we have the TGV valves here. We don't want those anymore, so we're going to open them up with some new Torque Solutions machine TGVs, deletes, and we're going to take those out, and then I'm also going to be putting in the Cobb turbo inlet hose. As you can see, it'll replace this one, much more beefier, and going to be able to have some smoother airflow. So that's what we're working on now. So just went ahead and got the new Torque Solutions TGV deletes in, and these are the stock OEM TGVs, and as you can see, they have the little butterfly valve in there, and that's what was causing our issue with the airflow. We also have our Cobb or ID injectors in there. These are the 1050cc injectors. Everything is looking great. We also got the Cobb intake, actually the turbo inlet. The intake will fit onto it right here, but that is much better than the old one. As you can see, this is the stock one, and here where it actually mounts the inlet to the turbo, it has this very soft rubber that is already corroding, and actually there's already a hole in it.
Where?
Look at that right there. There's already a hole that I actually just found that out. So this is why people replace these, because of that, and this only has 12,000 miles on it. This is a much better and stronger piece right here than that. So now all we have to do is wait for Import Image Racing. We are getting springs, retainers, and the air pump delete kit. We'll be able to bolt on the heads and then bolt on the manifold, and she's ready to go back in the engine.
Later.
Alright guys, so now we're back in the engine room here at Nerd Performance, and I have Stella's head right here. What we're doing now is we're taking off the buckets, as you can see here, and we have them all labeled and numbered perfectly because each one is its own unique size. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take out the keepers so we can pull the springs and retainers out, and we're going to put the brand new GSC springs and retainers in. And shout out to Import Image Racing for providing those for us, and the goal is to get Stella running today. this block together and we'll be good. Yeah.